Like, we kind of know that people are getting inheritances, and we know that some people are getting help from the bank of mum and dad to buy property, but it's also the comparison thing when we go on social media and we don't really consider what help other people have had. Like, sometimes we'll think, oh, maybe they've had help for that. Like, that doesn't make sense otherwise. But until more people talk about it, sometimes we'll just think that we need to work really hard to build wealth. And of course that's true, but also along the way, some people will have luck, they will have inheritances, they will have gifts, they will have like more support in certain areas. So it's never just working hard and it all works out. Often there's other things along the way.
Welcome to the Get Rich Slow Club. I'm Anna and I'm here with Tash, and we are going to talk about early inheritances, especially Tash's, because in a matter of days, Tash has jumped to millionaire status. So this is exciting because she's been tracking her net worth for a while, but this jump was a little bit unexpected. Tash, what is an early inheritance?
So I looked up the definition just to double check, but an early inheritance refers to the practice of parents or grandparents gifting assets to their children or grandchildren while they're still alive, rather than waiting for their death. This can involve gifting money, property, or other assets as an advance on the inheritor's future estate. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this gets talked about in Die with Zero, which is kind of that idea of wanting to gift people and see people love the money and use it in ways that is fulfilling. So instead of, hey, you die and now, your assets get dispersed, this is a way of actually helping those people that you love. And it's not just parents and grandparents, like aunts and uncles, family, friends, like anyone can kind of do an early inheritance if they want to help their loved ones and actually see them succeed. So how did this come about for you?
So it was kind of like similar to the Die with Zero thing, I guess. Housing is getting really expensive and my family thought the money would be more valuable earlier in life rather than waiting for 10, 20, 30, 40 years possibly. And they really wanted to help other family members get onto the property ladder. I already have property. I'm in a different situation, but my family wanted to be fair, which is why I got gifted the money as well.
Ah, interesting. So this is a great way of wanting to help out family members, but then also being fair about it, which is an interesting way because especially in some families, some people might be doing better in their lives and a certain amount of money might not make a difference, whereas other people, it makes a huge difference. Can you talk about how much you received?
Yes, so I got $250,000, which is crazy. So my net worth before I got it, was almost $850,000. And then with the early inheritance, it's now up to 1.1 million, which is pretty crazy to reflect on because it feels like I haven't worked for it. It's just magically bumped up the number.
Yeah, millionaire status, congrats.
Thank you.
It must be a little bit surreal because to your point, like, it was gifted. It wasn't worked for. So I know that that's always like a hard thing to grapple or even discuss because not a lot of people talk about getting inheritance because it's sometimes seen as like, just a luck of the draw.
Yeah, I've been reading stats around how many people are expecting an inheritance soon, even just like those conversations around the great wealth transfer that's going to happen in the next few years or the next decade or so. So it's happening to a lot of people, but it's still one of those extra taboo money topics because it is like one of the most unfair things out there, really. Like there's so much stuff where income is taboo and like your investments can be taboo, but this is like something that is actually just genuinely unfair.
Yeah. Was it discussed with your family members about this being fair or not? Or was it just like, here we go, we want to help you out and that's it?
It wasn't like fair in my family is kind of like equal. So it's about like the equality, not the equity, I guess. Because sometimes fairness might be like, oh, you didn't need the help, but the other person might have needed the help more. But yeah, there's definitely a thing around trying to do things equally, which is why I got it too, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, it wasn't like the conversation wasn't driven around like, oh, Tash needs this money. It was driven around like someone else would really benefit and Tash will obviously benefit too to keep things equal.
Yeah, fair enough. I think those are hard conversations. I think about that a lot with my kids. Like what if one kid is really financially successful and, has things in place while the other doesn't? Do you help them more equitably where you give more money to the person who needs it more, or do you do it more equally? So that's always an interesting thing to need to discuss. So now that you have this money, do you have a plan? What are you doing with it?
Yeah, I think I got it at a very good stage in my financial journey. Like I've bought 2 properties already. I have my almost $300,000 invested in shares already. Like I'm quite set up in my life and I've got my financial goals. So it's not like maybe if I'd gotten it 5 years ago, I would have been like, wow, this is like a massive change to my situation. And it's like still a large amount of money, but it's not really changing the trajectory I'm on. I feel like I have succeeded and I can save and invest and I know how to manage my money. So it's kind of just going to the things I'm already doing. I'm going to put some of my offset. I've been talking about starting a tiny home Airbnb business and buying a block of land. So maybe I can do that earlier. Maybe I'll invest some of it in shares. I'm not sure exactly yet, but it's kind of just a bit of a safety net at the moment, which I like. Like it's there to give me all of the options, but none of them are quite different from my original plan. It's just like enabling all the other things. I've also kind of enjoyed the security because I am self-employed now, and I've just hired someone full-time recently as well. So knowing that I have a bit more security there has been good as well.
So what are you doing with your immediate future? Like, what is this sitting in a bank account, offset account? What is happening? Offset. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it was in a bank account initially. Now it's in an offset because I only recently got an offset with my new property purchase.
Yeah. How good are offsets, by the way?
Yeah. So I've just properly like integrated. Yeah. I got the offset. When did I buy the property? A month or two ago? So I've just properly like set up the offset and everything now and started moving things around. So yeah, having an offset.
So here's another consideration, because it's 250, which is what the bank guarantees. If you have more in your offset, is that a consideration for you?
Yes, but it's not that much over. Like even my savings were pretty low after I used like most of my savings to buy the last property. So they were getting pretty low
duty,
anyway.
All the costs.
Yeah, just like the deposit and everything too. So no, it's not like I've got $400,000 in cash. It would only be, So, and it's spread over a few different things as well, like a few different accounts. Yeah.
So the next steps, you're not exactly sure what you're going to do. Like, I mean, your money is working for you, right? Like it's paying down your debt, but long-term stuff you kind of have to think about, right? In terms of...
Yeah, because before this happened as well, I was exploring like the Airbnb business. So I was seeing how much I could borrow because I was looking at buying a block of land with either a really like basic house on it or maybe just a block of land that has power and water connected. I was looking at how much Airbnbs, like the tiny homes, cost to build. It looks like it's around $100,000 to $150,000. So I kind of was seeing when I could borrow and how much I could borrow already. But now with that money, it's like, okay, cool, that could go to like one whole tiny home plus like a little bit of a deposit towards the land or whatever it is. So just kind of working out how much I can borrow, but I've got to wait until the next financial year. So when this is out, I'll have to do my tax return and see how much I can actually borrow.
Yeah. It's nice to have that money because it gives you much more flexibility. You can choose what you want to do and how you want to spread it out. And this is where inheritances can be life-changing for people in different stages of their life. Like my partner and I were talking about this. We're considered like the sandwich generation where we've got small kids, but we've got aging parents. And oftentimes we are like the most strapped for cash because we've got a mortgage to pay down. We've got childcare. We've got all of these different things where in that book, Die with Zero, talks quite a bit about how our generation could really be helped by having some additional cash. Like we don't need it when we're in our 50s, right? We're probably going to spend it all if we got it in our early 20s. So this is kind of that time. So I really love this idea of a living inheritance and helping out. Do you think that this is something you would do for people in the future? Like what are your thoughts on having an early inheritance?
Like if I have kids in the future? Yeah, I think definitely. I think it would be like similar to the position I'm in now where it's like they've built their own financial future first. Like you don't want to help people too early on where they haven't like built their own foundations and built the skills themselves. But like at this point, like, yeah, it's great to be able to maybe buy the farm property earlier than I would have been able to do. Like I've got so much more energy to do it now than in 10, 20 years or whatever it is. So definitely. But again, it depends, like asterisk is it depends on the situation the person is in as well. If they're like really struggling with a lot of stuff, they haven't like, learn how to save themselves, and I probably wouldn't give them that much money. But like, again, it depends what it's for. And it's, I guess, having conversations around like, oh, what would you use it for? Like my family asking my other family members and having that discussion around like, it's for a purpose. Whereas mine, they kind of knew that I would just keep doing what I was doing.
Yeah. So with the other family members who received some of this inheritance, do they have a plan as well in place, or what are they doing with it?
Yeah, their goal was to buy property, but they were really struggling to get in the property market. Things have gotten really expensive. They don't have as many levers to pull, I guess, as I do in terms of income expenses, stuff like that. So yeah, the goal was to buy, like to help them reach their property goals.
I think most parents, and especially parents and grandparents, are more likely to help people financially when they're buying their first property. I think it's like a huge hurdle to get over with the cost of stamp duty and just getting in, having a deposit, mortgage. So a lot of parents do help out. In Australia, the bank of mom and dad, and it doesn't get talked about a lot. People are sometimes ashamed to talk about it.
Yeah, like it definitely seems like sometimes it's a bit of some of the conversations on social media I see is around it being like a bit like cheating. Like, yes, it's unfair, but also like, oh, you cheated and you got help. I don't see it as that way at all. But I also think it's maybe an easier conversation for grandparents or parents to give it to someone for a property because it's seen as that safer investment and that safer asset. Like it's really easy to visualize where the money is going that way then.
Yeah, as opposed to giving it to shares or something, or just being like, here's cash, good luck, whatever you spend it on. Yeah. Whereas
at least with me, they've watched me like talk about investing and share my investing with them for the last decade. Like they've seen what I do with my money and they're comfortable with that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do love that idea. I think it's unfortunate that not everyone has the support of parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles who can help out financially, because that really gets people ahead. So, I mean, we're talking about this from a place of privilege, right? Like, we're quite lucky that our family has talked to us about money. We have decent budgeting skills. We know how to manage money, and that's not always the case. And a big part of having that stability in our life, and we've talked about this, is like, if anything were to happen, we could potentially rely on our parents or our family members to help us out. So we are talking about this in a place of privilege. Not everyone always has that opportunity, which is really hard, I think, as well.
Yeah. I was very apprehensive about sharing this publicly. Like, one, because it doesn't just involve me, it involves other people as well. And I know other people don't want to share openly about their finances, which is completely fine. But also because of like the stigma around it and how it is quite an unfair topic for some people to talk about. But I do think it is important to acknowledge, like, we talk about the privileges of our parents teaching us about money, about our education, starting to invest early, like even living in Australia, all that kind of stuff. But then one that isn't spoken about is that safety net. Like, even though this was quite unexpected and I didn't expect to get anywhere like this amount of money anytime soon, I also kind of did have it in the back of my mind that I could rely on some of my family if I needed to. So I could kind of make some risky decisions. Not that I ever thought I'd have to move back with them because something had terribly gone wrong, but I knew that was an option. I think that's a big privilege as well that comes with this stuff.
Yeah, so I'm an only child, and often I'll have other family members be like, well, you're an only child. Both your parents are alive. Chances are you'll receive something. And it's always feels so awkward talking about that because, yes, chances are it'll like financially help our lives somehow, but also the loss of someone is always really awkward to talk about. And with one of my parents, I have very open discourse. I know exactly what their will is like. I know what their wishes are. I know how things will pan out. Whereas my other parent, so my parents are divorced, I do not have that conversation. So I have absolutely no clue. And it feels awkward broaching those conversations because it's not just the financial side. It's not like just the will or what people are going to get. It's also like you want to respect people if and when they pass in the best way that you know. Like, what do you want? Like, what kind of ceremony do you want when you pass? Where do you want to be buried or cremated? And those are always like awkward conversations to have as well, along with the inheritance conversation. Like, we talked to Lacey about this as well, right? Why it's important to have a will. But that's why I think this is also a much more transparent, open way to be able to provide people with an early inheritance so they know what they're getting, help them out and support them along the way, and also just see them be happy, I guess.
Yeah, and see them use that money for whatever their goals are. And being part of the journey is so fun as well, if you are still around to be part of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Going back to the transparency aspect, I think it's also... like, we kind of know that people are getting inheritances, and we know that some people are getting help from the bank of mum and dad to buy property, but it's also the comparison thing when we go on social media and we don't really consider what help other people have had. Like, sometimes we'll think, oh, maybe they've had help for that. Like, that doesn't make sense otherwise. But until more people talk about it, sometimes we'll just think that we need to work really hard to build wealth. And of course, that's true. But also along the way, some people will have luck. They will have inheritances. They will have gifts. They will have like more support in certain areas. So it's never just working hard and it all works out. Often there's other things along the way.
And you see it compound. My parents helped me out a bit when I bought my first property. The fact that I know that if anything went wrong, like moving to Australia, if things went wrong and I needed somewhere to go, I could go to their house and stay with them. You know, like having even that is a certain level of privilege, support, luck that we don't get talked about. It means I can take more risks because I know that I have somewhere to fall back on. Whereas someone else who doesn't have the financial stability, like I have a friend of mine who's one of their parents is like moving from house to house. They've spent a lot of money. They don't really have anything in their super. They're barely making ends meet. Every time someone's helped them, they've been in a worse financial situation. And so they have that added stress of being like, not only do I have to look out for myself and my own financial future, but I also have to look out for my parents and potentially my kids. So that's a really hard place to be in. And so when we're talking about other people, like we're not seeing all of those other things falling in the background. Do you have multiple dependents and worries? Or do you know that you have a safety net and you might come across some money in the future that allows you to take more risk now? So that's why you can't compare, right?
Yeah, I'm like a different note, but I'm really glad I bought my first apartment by myself completely with no support from my parents. I know like there's different times now and things are more expensive and you might not be able to do it without help. But I think if like you're a parent or you're thinking about being a parent and you're thinking about whether you want to do this with your kids, Like, I am really glad I had the time and space to completely, like, not completely, but to succeed independently, know that I was capable and know that I was able to do it before I got gifted this money. And I know that probably can't work out sometimes these days, but yeah, definitely something to think about there too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we do build our own wealth, but there's only so much that we can, so far that we can go, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a while. And if you do have that support in the beginning, it compounds in the same way that investments compound as well.
Yeah. Interesting conversations to have. I hope this has been interesting or helpful for everyone listening. I just want to acknowledge again that it is a very touchy subject for a lot of people, and I am very lucky and very grateful that this has happened, and I'm definitely happy to talk about it, but yeah, it can definitely be uncomfortable at times.
Thanks, Tash, for sharing. That's I know it's hard to have these conversations.
Yeah. Yay. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you found this episode helpful, please rate us 5 stars, write a review, or share with a friend. If you're new to investing, make sure to listen to our first 10 episodes. Follow us at Get Rich Slow Club or Tash at Tash Invests or me at Ana Cristina.
The Get Rich Slow Club podcast is a collaboration between Tash Etchman from Tash Invests and Ana Cristina from Perla. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing. So make sure you check out our financial services guides and read the product disclosure statement and target market determination for any investments you're considering. See our show notes for more info. Any advice is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you. This show was brought to you by Natasha Etchman, who is an authorized representative 1299881 of Guideway Financial Services, AFSL 420367, and Perla, who is an authorized representative 1281540 of Sanlam Private Wealth, AFSL 337927. The Get Rich Slow Club acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. From coast to coast, across land, waters, and communities, we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging.